Julius section is 3 turbo fighting, 2 auto service, but not more. Like, a link to the video will be the description below. Go in second month. So let's get into this section in 3, 2, 1.
Chair salesman. My name is Emily, and it happened when I was around 12 or 13. My parents and I were going on a trip for a couple of days, and while they were getting our stuff inside the house, they told me to stay outside and watch the car. It was light outside, and it was a pretty safe neighborhood. I'm outside for a couple of minutes sitting down on the lawn, and I see a pickup truck pull up across the street, and this old-looking man gets out of the truck and comes towards me. I get up, and he starts telling me that he sells handmade chairs and that he has one on the back of his truck that he can show me. He seemed off to me, so I told him that I was going to ask my parents. So I'm rushing to the door and start knocking because our exterior door locks automatically. My mom comes out, and I tell her what the man told me, but he interrupts me and tells her I called him over or that I needed help or something like that. But my mom knew he was lying. My mom told him she was going to call the cops, and he left. My dad had to calm her down since she was freaking out and thinking that the guy was going to take me, and after she was calm, we continued putting the things in the car. We drove off without consequence, meeting no one else along the way. But the strangest thing happened when we returned home a few days later. We learned from the neighbors that a car had been parked outside our house all those days, right up until we arrived. From the description of the car, everyone realized it was that man's car. My mom wanted to call the police, but it didn't make sense since we didn't even remember the license plate number. It's been a few years now. He never showed up, but no one knows who it was or what he wanted. My fault.
I want to know why you want it. Really suspicious.
My friend Katrin and I were shopping in the shopping center. We had been there for quite a while. It was starting to get dark outside. I told my friend that I would wait for her in the car park, as I needed some fresh air. I was 6 months pregnant at the time. I went out to the car park, and after standing for a while, I slowly made my way from the mall to my car. On the way, I happened to notice a man standing in the middle of the road. He looked in my direction and made eye contact. I looked away and kept going. At this same time, there are 2 men that walk past him to go into the mall. He never looks at them or says anything to them, but kept his eyes on me. I noticed that he started to walk in my direction, but I just keep on strolling to my vehicle. Then I hear, "Excuse me, can you help me?" Being Southern has its downfalls, and one of those is having it ingrained into you to be polite. I simply just asked, "What do you need?" He looked around and said, "Could you help me start my car? I think my battery is dead." If he was really having car trouble, is it likely that he would ask a pregnant woman for help rather than 2 men that had just walked past him? Doubtful. So I just say, "Sorry, I can't help," and keep on walking. A little faster this time. I still see him out of the corner of my eye following me. He started walking faster too. Finally get to the car, unlock it, and jump in. He is practically running towards me now. I lock the doors and try to get the key in the ignition, but I was shaking, and at that moment the damn key just would not fit into the ignition. He gets to the truck and hits my window, saying, "I just need your help for a minute." Now I am starting to get angry and yell, "No, get the hell away from me." He grabs the door handle and tries to open my door and screams, "Just open the door." Here is where I lost my cool and made a split-second decision. I did have a 38 special in my console that I do know how to use. He started pounding his hands on the glass, but I sharply rolled down the window, grabbed the 38, and pointed it right in his face and said, "I'm not gonna tell you again. Get the fuck away from me." He stood there for a moment. I didn't know what he would do, but I knew for sure that I had every right to put that bullet in him if anything happened. He didn't say a word. He turned and walked away. I know I should have gotten the hell out then, but I needed to wait for my friend. After waiting for about 10 minutes, my friend didn't show up, but a call came in from her. There was silence on the line. Trying to talk, I came to the conclusion that the call was made accidentally from her pocket. That's why there was silence. So I called back myself. It was ringing, but no one was answering the phone anymore. I was already stressed out. And then there was this. At that exact moment, the car of the asshole who was harassing me passed in front of me. He was speeding out of the parking lot. I was glad that now I could get out of the car safely, so I went back to the mall in search of my friend. Half an hour later, I still couldn't find her, and she still wasn't answering her phone. I won't tell you about my anxiety at that moment, what I did, how I tried to call her on the loudspeaker in the mall, how I called the police. All I will say is that the morning I got the news that my friend Katrin had been found mutilated in the woods near this mall.
What? Wow. That was that was really messed up. Wow.
Smiling man. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the US. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had a reason to feel afraid. But in one day, everything changed. It was a Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. At the far end of the street, on my side, was the silhouette of a man, dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass me by. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky, and wearing an old suit. He danced closer still, until I could make out his face. His eyes were open wide and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. But no sooner had I taken 2 steps than he sharply blocked my way. He was facing me, but still looking skyward, smile still wide on his lips. Whatever happened now, I knew I had my pepper spray in my pocket at the ready. And then he said, "Hey, buddy." Before he could get a response from me, he asked me a question. "Do you know what there is to do here?" I was a little perplexed by his question, but answered, as I thought boldly, "I have no idea what there is to do here at this late hour." Then followed a logical question from him. "Then what are you doing here at this late hour?" His tone was already more cocky, and I sensed definitely not a kind note in his communication. Not 5 seconds after his question, I heard the sound of police sirens. We both froze as they came toward us, wondering if I should yell to them, and they would help me, or if they wouldn't hear me at this speed, and I would look stupid in front of this strange man, and then I would have to run the hell away from him. But oh, a miracle happened, I thought, when I saw the cops stop abruptly in front of us, run out of the car, and start arresting this man who was still standing there with his idiotic smile. The cops asked if I was okay, and if I needed a doctor. I didn't understand what was even going on. As it turned out, it was a mental patient who had killed a nurse during a night checkup and escaped from the asylum.
Wow. You. Wow. Poor nurse. Rest in peace to the nurse. Yeah. Rest in peace.
Into the city. I dread to imagine what might have happened if it hadn't been for the cops spotting us.
Yeah. Yeah. Rest in peace to the nurse. Yeah. There were 3 surveys finding 2 other surveys by number. The link to the video will be in the description below. Go in segment and drop a like if you like, and comment down below if you want to see more reaction like this one. and subscribe if you're new. Incredible to be none of them in a blog in what? Bye.